And nothing has changed until Nicholas spun the wheel, so I'll start from there. Nicholas spun the wheel, and it landed on Find the Key. And from there, a Balloony explained the challenge. A key was hidden somewhere around Gorky, not on Yoyoland. So, the contestants had to find it, and when they did, the chest would be hidden where the LOL is. So, the contestants scrambled off to find it. And almost immediately, the pencil got an idea and pointed to the evil forest off in the distance. Nino thought that might be a good idea, but Book didn't think much, remembering what happened back in BFDIA 2. Book refused at first, but Nino brushed Book off, and the two got into the van and began to drive to the evil forest. Nicole almost immediately stuck with Tennis Ball, wondering if he had any ideas, considering he was the smart one of the group. Indeed, he did have an idea, and pulled out a metal detector. But Nicole was intrigued by this. He was saving it for a challenge like this. And from there, the two went off, a tennis ball, a search on the ground. And soon after, Ben got an idea as well, and Arangoni took off into the air, flying above the evil forest, where Pencil was giving orders. She would search at the forest itself, Bug would search under the trees, and Needle would search in the trees herself. Not too long after, the two arrived at the Gorky Canal. Gorky felt a bit nervous, wondering why they were going there. Ben then explained her idea. The key might have been hidden where no one would bother to look. So underwater might be a good option. She would search the canal, and Gorky would check the shore and desert. And after thinking about it for a moment, Gorky thought it was a good idea, and so Ben took off her battery for obvious reasons, and drove into the canal, while Gorky searched the shore and desert, feeling a bit nervous for Ben. Meanwhile, at Sir Gorky, the tennis ball and Knuckle were still walking, and when then, Fries confronted them, saying that the key was probably underground. But Tennis Ball was not having it at all, and told him to dig himself instead of just getting others to do it all the time. Fries looked angry at him for a bit, but soon got to digging himself. And Knuckle saw this and felt relieved, thanking a tennis ball to have him not dig again. But a tennis ball brushed it off, and the two carried on. Meanwhile, in the old forest, Buck was searching the trees and at the races. She wasn't having any luck, so she looked up to Needle and asked if she was having any luck, but she wasn't. Not even searching inside the trees and looking up to look around the forest. Buck still felt a bit nervous, getting a bad feeling about Evil Leafy, but tried to brush off nervousness and continued to search. As for Pin, she that was in the canal now, and she got a bit full of herself, thinking that her idea was pretty smart, thinking of being somewhere where no one would bother to look. But she did feel a bit nervous, as the canal was over 5 miles wide, which was pretty big. But she was determined to win, and continued to search. Soon, she saw something yellow in the distance, and she got a bit excited and drove over to it, only for it to be a piece of a yellow coral. As she tossed it back, annoyed, and continued to search. As she looked back up at the surface, wondering how deep she was. And as for Fries, well, Fries' path is basically the same as in the actual episode, so I won't go into further detail about that. So let's just continue. Meanwhile, Tentacle and Knuckle were still searching, and Knuckle was beginning to feel a bit tired, and when then, a Tennisball's metal detector began to beep. And Nickel dug, and got a bit excited when it turned out to be his trunk. The Tennisball asked why on earth his trunk was underground, and he said that he buried it so that no one would steal it. The Tennisball groaned, and they continued searching. Although Tennisball downing Nickel would help him in his journey, but continued on regardless. Soon, Buck almost couldn't take the nervousness anymore. It began to overcome her. Like she saw a pencil at the canyon and panicked a bit, running over to her. The pencil brushed her off, annoyed. But then, Buck got a dangerous thought. What if the key was down in the bed of spikes? But the pencil doubted her immediately, saying that the key would never be hidden there. They wouldn't even get to go back up, since they would basically die by the spikes. So she told Buck to not even try to look down there and get it. Buck sighed and walked off, trying to calm herself down. Little did she know that she would feel even more nervous due to the events that would unfold in just a bit. In the canal, Ben was still searching, still not determined to give up. And she saw something. The shape didn't look like something that you would normally see underwater. So she went closer to it and unburied it, and to her surprise, it was the key. Excited, she went up to the shore, showing Corny the key. He was excited and prepared to grab onto Ben again, but she pressed him off, saying that she would do it for him and that she could do it on her own. And with that, she tossed the key up into the air. The key landed onto her point top, and began to fly up into the air. But then, a trouble soon arose. As Ben flew into the air, she was flying a bit fast, and she was tilted sideways. And this caused the key to slip off of her run top, and as a result, it flew into the evil forest. And from this, it hit a pencil, causing her to look around, wondering how did they get there. But then, as she looked up, seeing Pin up in the air, she thanked her for the key and ran off with a book and needle, causing Evil Leafy to teleport away and into the cave that Fries was in. And in a sudden Golicky, Tennisball and Nickel saw a pencil, a book, and needle running towards them. The two were near Fries' hole, and they got an idea. Tennisball extended his leg and drift pencil, but then more trouble came as the key fell into the hole that Fries was in. Landing into the Fries, who was still possessed, his carton. Tennisball then made his sacrifice and jumped into the hole. The first time, getting Evil Leafy out of Fries, and the second time, bringing Fries up with them. But as he reached the surface, he grabbed on the needle, wanting support. He then flipped forward, causing the needle to fall into the hole and ending up in the cave with Evil Leafy. And just as Pencil was about to grab the key, a pin flew straight onto her, preventing her from getting it. Then got into a small little fight, and Pencil kicked off a pin's rockets so that she couldn't drive faster anymore, only at a slow speed. And without Needle, a Pencil and Block then began to run off. Nickel saw this, and told Tennisball that he was on his own team now, and ran after them. The chase was on, and Nickel was running after a Puck and Pencil. A Pencil taunted Nickel, waving the key right in front of him. But it was no use, as Nickel tried to run fast, but he just wasn't fast enough. They were running the LOL, and Pencil thought that she could win. But then, it happened. Nickel then made his decision. He lunged forward, managing to bite down onto the key, snatching it out of Pencil's hands. And with that, he managed to get the key into the keyhole, and the chest had unlocked. He then reached into it and pulled out an immunity ticket. And with that, Nickel, who was now on his own team and had separated from a tennis ball earlier, had won immunity on his own. The others around feeling a bit mad at each other for what they did. But regardless, Nickel was happy. He had won, and he was proud of it. And that's the end of my version of BFDIA 16. Let me know if you enjoyed my version. Do I prefer my version over the actual version? Nah, I like the actual episode more than my version. Even if my version is... I don't know where to finish the sentence. But anyways, if you would like to see more of these, then feel free to leave a comment and subscribe. And with that, we'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed.